Hi and welcome. I'm Steve Martirano, and this is the Behavioral Corner. You're invited to hang with us as we discuss the ways we live today, the choices we make, the things we do, and how they affect our health and well-being. So you're on the corner, the Behavioral Corner. Please hang around a while. Hi, everybody. Welcome again to the Behavioral Corner. My name is Steve Martirano. This is where I hang and talk about everything, as a matter of fact, because everything affects our behavioral health. The whole shoot match is made possible by the financial support of our great partners, Retreat Behavioral Health. And in addition to, keeping the lights on and the electricity flowing, they provide us with terrific people who can talk very authoritatively from personal experience very often about what they do in the substance abuse and mental health treatment arena. To that end, we brought together two of my favorite people in the whole wide world, and that's Grace Shober and Maggie Hunt, who are both very, they're successful in every endeavor they have tried recently. I mean, they're successful businesswomen because they both work for Retreat. They're successful, successful moms and their wives. So they're running households and a business, and they bring to all that just an incredible and deep understanding from personal experience about the ravages of substance abuse. So we brought them together, and we call them lovingly the Movie Mavens. What we decided to do was take popular culture that tries to shed a light on these issues and say, you know what, that was really well done, or that was malarkey. We have one under our belt. The ladies did a great job on the television series Euphoria, which concluded its run recently, generating a lot of interest, by the way, girls. And now we're going to take a look at a feature motion picture, which we are hoping, is that someone's phone? We are hoping that you may have seen, but if you haven't, I think you'll still enjoy it. It's called 4 Good Days. It's the story of a mother and daughter and their 10-year battle with the daughter's struggles with substance abuse, a very serious heroin addiction is the centerpiece of it. It stars Mila Kunis and Glenn Close as the mom and the daughter, respectively. So that's what we're doing on here on the corner. We're going to take another movie review from the Mavens, Grace and Maggie. Hi, ladies. Sorry for that long-winded open.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
So, guys, 4 Good Days, and there is the lovely and talented Milos. Is it Mila? Mila
Kunis, yeah.
Looking like she just fell off a fast-moving train. It's just shocking the shape she was in. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of this movie and your reactions to it, let's start with this thumbs up or a thumbs down. In general, without any details, are you a thumbs up with 4 Good Days or thumbs down? Grace?
Grace to go first.
I'm in the middle. Honestly, I'm in the middle.
All right.
I don't know if that's allowed, but I'm kind of just like right there.
Well, we'll let you get away with it now, but from now on, no.
No. Yeah,
no, you know what? No, it's fair. It's fair. It's, because I agree with you. I was with it for a while, and then I went, uh-oh. But anyway, Maggie, what'd you think?
Yeah, I liked it. I was happy. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was happy that it was a female person who was trying to get sober, because it seemed as if, besides Euphoria, but like in movies, it seemed like the movies that I was seeing, it was a lot of male characters. And, obviously when I have seen other movies that are struggling with people in addiction or recovery, obviously I identified with them. But I definitely felt like I identified probably a little bit more to this because of the mother-daughter relationship that was there, because that I had not seen that personally up until this point.
So I sort of failed to give you the premise in brief. 4 Good Days refers to the period of time when the daughter presents herself at home unexpectedly and says, I want to get clean. And the arrangements are, if she can stay sober for 4 days, she'll be qualified for the shot, which they keep referring to, which is a 30-day a medical procedure to block the effects of the heroin. So it's the 4-day period there. Let me ask you, and it begins with what I call the deal. She shows up unexpectedly at the door looking like death warmed over. Her mom opens the door cautiously, sees who it is. Daughter begs, let me come home. I want to get clean. I want to get back into rehab. Mom says, no, you know the deal. You cannot get back in this house until you are sober, and closes the door. Okay, well, obviously that's not the end of the movie, but that sets the stage. Tell me about the deal. Have you had deals like that in your lives where your loved ones, people you thought were your last hope, just said, no way? Grace?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was like, talk to you later. And my mom said it before, like in like an interview she did. It was like, if Grace comes here, you call the police. That's what you do, you know? And it was, because I didn't typically, or I never showed up home unless I absolutely needed something or was in a totally bad way. So I had a ton of deals. My relationship was more with my dad. Maggie's, I know, is with her mom, but it was like, okay, if, you know, all right. But it was like deals on my end too. It was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to a meeting, quote unquote, which was really go get loaded again. And then I'll go to treatment. But there was that dynamic. Absolutely.
Yeah. Maggie, when you found yourself back at home during your battles, was it similar to Grace's and similar to the character in the movie, that you weren't really there to get clean? You were there to work some angle. Was that what you?
Yeah, of course. And, you know, the deal for my mom was that I could not use drugs and live in her house. And she, you know, has sisters and we have a huge family. And she knew that I would have bounced between family members. So she shut it all down so that there was nobody else I could go to except for her. They all would have just referred me back to her. But there was many a time, you know, that I needed to stay sober, you know, for insert the amount of time, not necessarily for the Vivitrol shot, because when I got sober, that wasn't necessarily a thing, but like, you know, 4 days till I was able to go on Suboxone, or 4 days until I went into treatment. And it's always like, it seems like a no brainer. Oh, it's just 4 days, no problem. But 4 days for somebody who is a drug addict and an alcoholic, that is a lifetime. And all of the good intentions that you have in your mind when you're making the promise with your loved one, you do mean at that moment, you know, you do mean, but
for sure.
Yeah.
And did you feel that they presented that in the dynamic between the mother and daughter? She seems utterly sincere in all of her pleadings, but there is a subtext to it. For instance, my wife would be watching it and say, don't believe a word she says. Please don't leave her alone. She's lying to you. So the other thing that struck me was there's mom. This is basically, you know, you mentioned a female centered story. This is a buddy movie, only for the first time in a long time. It's two women. It's really the story of this relationship. And mom doesn't seem to get, and you tell me what your experience was. Mom doesn't seem to get the kind of support, Maggie, you just talked about, where in a family setting, it's all hands on deck or it won't work. Is that always difficult, Grace, to get everybody in the family on the same page?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, for me, it was a buddy system. It was a buddy system between me and my dad. Everybody else was like, no way, you know, we are not dealing with her, you know, anything like that. Because what I really think is that this relationship in the movie, although like she looked like she was like really having a rough time of it, a rough go of it, Mila Kunis, I felt like besides her physical appearance, the mom like portrayed like how significant her drug addiction was, as opposed to, you know, Mila Kunis. But yeah, I mean, I guess sometimes it's all hands on deck, but you know, love doesn't cure addiction. So you could have the entire world behind you and it doesn't matter. Mine was specifically me and my dad, and it was like us two against the world.
Yeah, that's interesting about her physical appearance, and I think it's a great insight to point out that the real measure of the problem, and it's a 10-year problem they're looking at, is in the mother's reaction and the mother's face and the mother's actions. Not Hollywood wants her to look as bad as she possibly can. That's Hollywood. Let's, what's fun? We'll make her look like she died a week ago. But the real drama is in Glenn Close, who's an extraordinary actor, and she's wary, but she's torn. The sympathy is towards her more than I think the daughter. Do you agree, Maggie, that this story really, in a sense, is more about mom than the daughter?
Yeah, definitely. I also think that you can, like, exactly like you said, you can tell that she is tired and that this isn't the first time that this has happened. And she doesn't want to continue to just get walked all over by her daughter. So, but yeah, I think that there was a lot that showed, because always families that want to do tough love, and family members around that, like the parent will say, oh, you got to just let him go. You got to just let him go. And sometimes, at least I know for my mom, she would say things like, I can't just totally let go. And it's not that it's enabling. There's a fine line between like enabling, but also being so fearful that like, if you do, because like I wanted her to give up completely. Like, I'm like, just leave me alone. I'm trash. Like, stop, you're really just like, a real buzzkill when I'm trying to get loaded. And she was like, I'm not going to let go, like, I'm not going to just completely let you go. And so it's hard when, like the husband and all, everybody else, like, just tough love, but it can't be that way all the time. And I think that Glenn Close, was portraying that for families who think it's so black and white.
Well, and I think that she did a good job, like, of how it really is. Like, she's like, yes, I'm doing tough love, and she is outside, and that's what it is. But then she slept on the kitchen counter, basically watching her, and that's where she fell asleep. She did a fantastic job, Glenn Close.
Yeah. It really is her. It really is her story, and the thing about the difference between enabling and trying to break that bond is significant here, because I'll tell you right now, if you ask me, and I've never been in this situation, so I qualify my answer, this movie makes enabling look like a good idea. I mean, on the surface, it makes it look like they're endorsing enabling, because at every step of the way, mom keeps bending the rule, breaking the deal. Go ahead, go in the shooting gallery for 10 minutes. Nothing will happen. And we're sitting here going, what are you, crazy? What's wrong with you? Yeah, guys.
Honestly, that's something that I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, the thing is, it's not like this was like her first rodeo. So like, they made that very clear that this has been like a decade problem, right? If I would have said I tell you one thing for certain and two things for sure. If I would have said to him, hey, let's drive and like take a look at some of the stuff I used to do and where I used to stay, he'd be like, what? He'd be like, no way. Are you kidding me? It just wouldn't I want to help somebody maybe like the first couple times around. But after he started realizing what she did realize, because she was part of a support group they were talking about and all that. It's like, the fact that you even allowed that to happen is like, they had to add that for the movie. Exactly. They had to add that for the drama, because otherwise you are part of the problem.
Yes, and it's great, because this is what I'd hoped that you guys reviewing these kinds of movies would point out. There are moments in any theatrical presentation where, if you know about the subject matter, you can tell what they're doing. Oh, you're right. This scene is for dramatic effect, because no one in their right mind would drive into the hood and let them walk around trying to save somebody. And there's another scene that which is almost exactly for the same purpose. But Maggie, I want to get back to what you said. Oh, first of all, about her physical condition. Was it do people get that physically ravaged if they've got a 10-year heroin habit?
Oh, yes. Right, Grace, wouldn't you say?
Oh,
Even worse, probably. I mean, you can go on to Grace or my Facebook page. You can look at any of our friends, like, when you see the before and after of what people looked like. And sometimes it is unrecognizable. Seriously.
Yeah.
So upsetting.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, I've had that experience, and sometimes you just think it's an exaggeration. So when you see it in Hollywood, you almost automatically think it's an exaggeration.
The only thing that was an exaggeration, in my opinion, is that she got a pair of fake teeth that quick. Because I'll tell you what, I would leave retreat, and my dad took me to get teeth yanked out of my mouth because they were shot, and they're still gone. I mean, they're in the back of my mouth; they're still totally gone. I wasn't getting dentures that same day or anything else. It just that doesn't happen.
Well, what they said was. I know what they said. I've been involved in these discussions when I was in Los Angeles. The director said, well, we can't, we can mess her up a little bit, but we can't have her in front of a camera for an hour and a half with those teeth. Do something. So yeah, you're
but it's
right.
Why not? Because that is, specifically, I remember one time, and my dad remembers it too. He picked me up and I hadn't brushed my teeth, and I can't even tell you how long. And they were fuzzed over, and they were different. It was ridiculous. You could it was sick, right? But that is what it is.
Yep. Anyway, this is great. We're talking to our movie mavens, Maggie Hunt and Grace Shober, every month when we can do it, and we're going to do it every month. We're going to pick something that popular media has shine a light on and see if we can take it apart for you. Case in point now, a movie entitled 4 Good Days. It's streaming, I think, on Amazon Prime. It's worth watching. It's terrific. The acting is unbelievable. And there is a message in this, although I have a couple of questions I want to ask the girls. Let me ask you about the other thing. Some of the things they throw out. 14 times in detox and rehab. Now, I know that's not a shocking number, but people go, wow, come on, 14 times. It's sort of, how many times for you guys?
That actually hit me, that part, because that's my exact number. My number is 14. And so when she said that, I was like, right. Wow.
Yeah. I don't even, I don't even, doesn't even faze me anymore. I think 14 is the highest number I've heard from somebody when I was interviewing. I know even more than that. So,
and Maggie was 10, but I think that we always give the disclaimer that you don't especially now with the way things are, you just don't have that ability to really go in and out 14 times and survive. So although our numbers are high and a lot higher than most people, it's not we're saying, oh, you definitely have 14 times or you definitely have 10 times. It's just a disclaimer I like to throw out there, because people think, oh, well, this is only my 3rd time. I still have a lot of time left, and it's not true.
Yeah. Maggie, isn't it also true, and people don't understand this, that very, very often people go into treatment not to get clean, but for a break? Right?
Oh, 100%. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Making the decision to go into treatment, probably the first 7 times I went in, I was not because I was this is a good idea. It was I'm just trying to get out of trouble, get people off my back. I'm not, I'm 18 years old or 19 years old. I'm not an addict or an alcoholic. I didn't lose a house. I didn't lose any of these things, but this is going to make me look good for a little while. And people are going to give me praise. And my biggest consequence at the time was to go away to treatment where they are nice to me and tell me how great I'm doing every single day and feed me and,
and in a sense, get you strong enough to go back out and get high again.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah. I went, meet new friends, meet more connects, Yeah.
90, the doctor at intake says to her that you'll be back. She says 14 detoxes. He said, well, chances are you'll be back. Relapse rate, 97%. It is that high, isn't it?
Yeah, it is that high. I do. Sorry, Grace, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just thinking, that's typical of somebody in a treatment center to say something like that, or especially somebody who has burnout, or compassion fatigue, which is, a whole nother topic, which I know you've talked about, but people oftentimes will go, oh, you'll definitely be back. But it's almost it's so discouraging for people when they say that. And I know that Grace will probably agree with me too. It's just not even necessary to say something like that.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought, why would a doctor lead with something utterly negative, even if it's true? You've had doctors tell you that, haven't you, Grace?
Yeah, and I've had people in treatment centers tell me never gonna stay sober, Shober. That's what they called me. And like it honestly, it didn't really piss me off. I had like a super thick skin. I was like whatever, but it did stick with me because I'm like, well, I'm gonna prove them wrong. But that was messed up, you know. But in the back of my mind, I thought to myself, they're probably right. So it was like a range of emotions. It was like I'm angry a little bit about it. I don't really care. I'm a little bit hurt, you know. But now I'm gonna use it as motivation.
Don't you also think that some people who feel the need to um, say things like that or behave like that are in effect striking a pose? In other words, I know they're saying to the substance abuser, hey, I know you're a con artist, and I'm telling you, you're going to relapse. In other words, I'm no dope. Don't play me for a dope. Okay, that's a macho kind of thing or a defense mechanism, but I didn't find it coming from the mouth of a doctor particularly helpful to someone who at least got that far. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the idea of Vivitrol. Now, this has been a sea change over the past 10 or 15 years in the substance abuse treatment world, where medicine or drugs are used more actively than they have in the past. There's always been methadone, but Vivitrol is something different. In this movie, and what it is, it blocks the ability to get high. But as I understand it, it doesn't do anything on the craving end of things, right? I mean, you can take that shot and for 30 days, you won't be able to get off on heroin, but it doesn't stop the behavior or your desire to get high. Is that the truth of it, Maggie Grace? The shot?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I didn't have that. That wasn't like really like heavily pushed. Definitely like when Maggie and I got sober. But I think like what it's supposed to do is obviously block, you know, that the drug use, but I think it's supposed to subside some of those like cravings, but definitely the behavior surrounding it is not going to change. So like, okay, I can't get high on this, I'll get high on something else. You know, there's still a lot of work that comes with it, and it can be dangerous too in certain ways. Like if somebody does use on it, or you know, if they don't feel the effects that they use too much. So there's a good side and a bad side to it. I think that it's great that it's an option, but there's definitely a lot that you need to know about it before just going into it. And like, I think they could have given her,
Yes.
I think they could have given her more warnings about it, or they could have given her more information about it, would be my suggestion. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't change how we're going to act. You know, that takes time.
Yeah, Maggie, I felt that when the physician saw her for the first time, and this is, in the Hollywood tradition, they present her with the silver bullet. We've got the silver bullet, and gloss over, and he glosses over. By the way, the shot has to be accompanied with all kinds of, and he stumbles over what he's talking about, but he's talking about what Grace just said. The work still has to go on. And I thought the movie fell apart there. I thought they didn't give any credence or attention to the process of getting sober. Instead, here's the magic bullet, and all you got to do is stay clean for 4 days. Do you agree that they sort of fell short there, Mag?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, anything that I've ever seen about Vivitrol is, it is only effective when paired with counseling or when paired with individual sessions and paired with outside things. But I do think that when I know for myself, like it wasn't Vivitrol, but it was Suboxone. And I know I also called Suboxone like a magic pill, a magic pill that was going to change my life and going to recover me from opioid addiction, and I would be fine. Vivitrol, the difference between the two, I think, and the reason for why I appreciate the idea of Vivitrol is it's not the daily dose of taking something every single day. It's the once a month shot. But yeah, it doesn't, you can still have the cravings, but there's technically supposed to be a little bit drowned out by the idea of, oh, well, I'm not going to get high. I can't get high if I'm on this. But that doesn't always happen.
That daily dose rather than the 30 days is interesting because there's a psychological advantage. When you're even when you're taking a drug that's helping you, get off of heroin. If you're doing it on a daily day, you're sort of engaged in the same kind of physical activity. I need my shot. I need my shot. But when you can delay that for 4 weeks, you're sort of breaking that cycle. Anyway, they glossed over it, and I thought it was a disservice to the real work of recovery. Let me ask you about another scene. When she, and I'm sure both of you have found yourselves in an emergency room in the middle of the night on more than one occasion. Did you find that scene overly dramatic or fairly accurate as to what would happen if you went in there in bad shape? Grace?
I was in an emergency room many times, but the one time that reminded me of that time was in Enid, Oklahoma. Okay. I thought it would be a great idea to travel.
The hell, what were you doing in Enid?
I know. I was going for my brother's Air Force graduation, which I never got to attend while I got out there because I thought I'm just going to stop using, while I go out here. And it was a nightmare. I was seriously in like the most pain. And plus, like, once you're like, when you're detoxing from it, like, I know I'm not going to say for everybody, but I'm a wuss when it comes to like detoxing from heroin and stuff. I'm like not taking the pain, but it was terrible. And I had my dad take me to the hospital and I was screaming. I mean, I was screaming, I was yelling. I was like, because you also want them to give you something to like make this feel better. So you're going to over exaggerate, even though it is bad, you're going to over exaggerate. And that scene, I think that it was portrayed pretty good because I definitely did that for sure.
Yeah, folks in an ER have seen a lot, so they're not, but it's not that they lack empathy. It's just that they're probably tired. Maggie, that scene ring true for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, the other thing that I thought that was, I thought that was interesting is like the recommendations that they give you when you're in there coming in, like when I had an overdose, they were like, I told them I'd been in and out of treatment and overdosed, on life support, come out of that. And they're like, you should do outpatient treatment. And I'm like, oh, really? Thank you so much. Like for the rocket science here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure that I probably needed a higher level of care, but thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well,
because now I don't have to go in because the hospital is saying I don't have to go to inpatient. So it's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, people don't know how to react. People just don't know what to say to folks. And that almost anything you say under those circumstances is going to be ill-advised. Have you thought about treatment? It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's occurred to me every now and then.
It is. That nurse, though, really quick, she was rude. That's number one. But number two, that's how it is. Yep. I mean, they are rude to you. They're rude to the family. They're rude. That was portrayed good too, because that's not just like, just for the acting. Like people are rude about drug addiction. So I thought
that's a good point.
Yeah. I'm glad that they actually put that in there.
Treat them and treat them. That's what the hospitals want to do. That's what they say.
Yeah. There's almost an unconscious sense that if you act compassionate, you're sort of saying, I feel for you. And they don't, there's a judgment going on here.
Yep.
Please, we have people showing up here who are in real bad shape through no fault of their own. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get particularly upset about you. You did this to yourself. It's terrible. Tell me about dope sickness. I have, a term and an event I've talked about with so many people, seen it depicted so many times. I tell you the truth. I still can't get my head around being that physically in pain that you couldn't, make it 3 days or 4 days. I mean, how, to the best of your ability, how can you describe dope sickness to someone who's never been that sick? What's going on? What's your brain saying to you?
Grace, you want to go first?
Mag.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say, so the physical symptoms, when you talk about them, they don't seem that serious, but paired with the psychological obsession of your brain lacking any of its own natural dopamine, your brain is saying, you're going to die. You're actually going to die if you don't, because you're so depleted from, all of, because like when you're using regularly, your body's, lazy. And it says like, well, if you're going to give me this huge burst of opioids and, and I don't have to make this natural serotonin or whatever anymore, like we're not going to make it. So then when you continue to do that and you continue to do that, and then, you can't get drugs that day and you're in withdrawal, the physical symptoms are so significantly enhanced that you seem like you're being dramatic, but inside your brain, it is literally telling you that you're going to die. And so it would almost be, this like flight or flight, like direct intervention situation where like, if you think you're going to die, wouldn't you try to do everything in your power to not die? But when you literally believe the delusion that like, if you do not get this substance inside of you, and it's a brain disease, all of addiction is a brain disease. And I can't wait till we actually can fully like comprehend and understand that, even though like we do, and it's in the DSM, but when we can really come to understand that, because when you understand the significance of the risk that you are in internally, all of the things that you do to get there all make sense then.
Well, Grace, you've already told us that you're not a fan of pain.
Well, I mean, especially like withdrawal pain, but Maggie said it perfectly. It's because the mental aspect of it exacerbates how bad the physical symptoms are, although they're bad. But it's like detox is like literally trying to drown yourself in a bathtub, but not being able to. And that's like, I did that like at least 3 times, just because like you would rather be dead. Like Maggie said, you being submerged in water feels maybe a little bit better. Hot and cold. I mean, it's just like your whole body, mental state, everything is shutting down. And everything's coming out of every which way. It just is what it is. It's nothing glamorous. And the way that they show that most of the times, because they do have to over exaggerate that on film to be able to like get that out there, like how bad it is. I mean, I've birthed children, I've had a C-section without painkillers afterwards, and I would do that 100 times over than having withdrawal.
Wow. Thank you. I knew you two could explain it to me. We're talking about 4 Good Days motion picture about a mother-daughter relationship and the struggle with a serious 10-year substance abuse issue. It's equal parts harrowing and sometimes superficial. But at the end of the day, and we'll sum up with this, guys, and I'll be the outside. Well, actually, I'm not alone here. I thought at the end of the day, since this was the battle seen basically through the eyes of mom and her struggle, and you're right, Maggie said earlier, she's got a deal. You can't. Tough love is easy to say, hard to do, and mom bends to that throughout the picture. She breaks every deal she's made, and at the end of the day, she's even willing to give a fake urine sample to the hospital so that her daughter can get the Vivitrol shot, which is an extraordinary thing to do, because as they're telling us, you could die if you get a Vivitrol shot while using. Nevertheless, mom thinks that's a good idea. So what I'm getting to is what one critic I read said, that this is so sloppy and lazy. And I'll quote you because I wrote it down, that ending is an affront to the entire recovery community. Is this an affront, Grace, to the ending? And it all comes out fine in the end. But did you find it insulting to what goes on in the recovery community?
I actually did, because like it ended. So I don't think like I was like so offended. But I was just like, that's not real. You know what I mean? Like that was like 4 months later from where we were at. You're still a mess at 4 months. You're not going to look you're going to look better. But things are not going to be like that. You shouldn't have your car back right away from your family, because apparently she had her car back because she came home and all this. I definitely think that along with the fact that she went to that school and was talking to those kids with like a week sober or whatever, I honestly, I was like, are you kidding me? Like it was ridiculous. The ending was just a way to what that movie did is it was dramatic. It showed the physical, what the physical can look like. And it definitely showed the mom's point of view and things like that. But it was almost like at the end, like, okay, now quick, let's get her sober and move life on. That's like what it was.
It's called a third act problem. They didn't
Yep.
have a good third act.
Yep.
Maggie, the other thing, another critic who didn't like the movie, all that, but everyone, by the way, criticizes it in the way I think we have. They love the acting. They thought it's a story absolutely worth telling, but they think there's a major failure at the end. The other critic I noted said that the topic needs more than a series of cliches, and the people involved constantly blaming everybody else. There's a lot of blame shifting that goes on here. The daughter seems to be blaming the mother for abandonment. The mother seems to be blaming the medical community. So the critic's question was, we need more than these cliches and blame shifting. We need a more insightful look at what it takes to get sober. You agree with that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. There's always, I often feel, there's lots of scapegoats, so to speak, in the treatment and recovery process, but it doesn't sell as good, I guess, probably on the, which is the same reason for why we do this podcast. Like, it has to, the ending was terrible. Really terrible.
Well, no, what Hollywood needs to do is throw me and Mags in a movie and show them how it's done. That's what Hollywood needs to do.
It's
We're
my
available.
goal.
We're
It's my
available.
goal. It's my goal to have you two become the great technical advisors for these movies. One real quick question, because it pains me sometimes to ask you guys to do this, because I know what it must be like if the scene strikes very close to home. But are you two drawn to movies like this, or is it only because we're forcing you? Do you find yourself looking for themes when a movie comes out? And you go, I think I'll watch that. No.
No.
No, I was gonna say no either.
No, because it's our everyday. I mean,
Yeah.
this one, some of them I specifically want to watch. Sometimes I'm like, I literally live that life every day. I don't want to watch it. I want to watch, I want to watch like Vikings or something like that. Something that's so totally
Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Things that are not, that's what I want for entertainment, not like the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we're
because
not.
we see the actual devastation and the actual outcomes for what happened. It just doesn't end like how it ends in a movie and then everybody goes home. Like it, we see like the actual aftermath. So it's like, I think for us, it's like, I'll watch them and I have no problem, giving my opinion on these movies, but it's definitely like, Game of Thrones all the way.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well, then that only makes me more indebted to you guys. I love you both. The
Yeah,
Movie
love you too.
Mavens, great show, Gray Shober and Maggie Hunt. We have not yet decided on next month's. So we got a mixed review for 4 Good Days. It's fair to say. We'll put our heads together. I think Grace, we're going to give Grace the first option on next month's review, and then we'll all be back on the corner for more of this. Ladies, thanks so much.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, everybody.
You're the best.
Bye, Grace.
Hey, everybody, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and or wherever, however you get your podcast, and let us know what you think. The ladies, as Grace said, they've got thick skin. They can take any criticism you want to throw at them as movie critics. And we'll be back next time on The Behavioral Corner. Thank you.
Retreat Behavioral Health has proudly been serving the community for over 10 years. Here at Retreat, we believe in the power of connection and quality care. We offer comprehensive, holistic, and compassionate treatment from industry-leading experts. Call 855-802-6600 or visit us at www.retreatbehavioralhealth.com to begin your journey today.
That's it for now. And make us a habit, hanging out at the Behavioral Corner. And when we're not hanging, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter on the Behavioral Corner.